it's great to see how Joyn is innovating and taking curation to the next level. And the key part that I think that I love about it is that, one part that I try to do, at least within my curations, is find the narrative, find the story. And then, often you just have a list of pieces that you put in there, and there's very little room to tell story. And so I think that, that aspect of it has been pretty cool to see. It takes a lot of the things that are out there and combines into one, and you can list it on the same platform, which I think is nice to provide that continuity from, accepting sort of pieces through an open call, to talking about them, to eventually listing them.
It's really cool that others can participate, and by the stuff that we do with the stories, with composer, with the galleries, is basically to encourage others to be motivated as much as possible to actually go and do something either with us or on their own, but just bring more art into this world. And we're here for it.
What this has done is it allows us, we're a small team building a product like creator tools. So having a partner like Joyn that has created an easy, no code, simple way, whether you're an artist, curator, a platform, being able to have a place for our creations to live and be showcased and tell the story of I think that's the biggest thing. Why does art ever sell or resonate with somebody? And you guys did a good job of making it super easy for us to plug in, integrate our contracts.
The intro just keeps getting better and better. I think showing highlights from the first live stream, Chikai, David, Ev, Sloika, Monolith, Transient Labs, fantastic first live stream. And I think we've been mentioning it throughout the week. We really, really appreciate all of the feedback that we got. We appreciate all the love that got shown. I appreciate the DMs asking us where we were coming back. And we're back for our second live stream here on Joyn Live. Again, I am the marketing lead at Joyn, Miguel. I've been marketing blockchain and Web3 since before we called it Web3. I did layer 1 blockchain marketing at Cadena, crypto exchange, Gemini, and NFT marketplace, Nifty Gateway. And I'm here back with my co-hosts, both Sella artists from the last 2 weeks that we spent off the live stream. We're back, and they're even more established than they were before. So I'm gonna hand it off to my co-hosts and let them intro themselves.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be back for our second live stream. My name is Andrea, known as Crown and Palette. Super excited to be here with y'all. I've just a little introduction. I've been in the NFT space since 2021. I've been an artist pretty much my whole life, but I consider myself to be multidisciplinary. I create AI composite works, and I also do post-photography media, which was actually for my very first showcase that was one of the first ones on Joyn using Composer. I have been part of Joyn as well since the very beginning. So dropping my first showcase on Joyn in the last few weeks was very, very special to me. And I look forward to continue with this stream and talk about some awesome stuff that we've been seeing for the last couple of weeks. And I'll hand it over now to Blac.
Let's go. This is crazy. The first show was so awesome, and I was so stoked to be here again. I think we've had some wild weeks in between the two. Congratulations again, Andrea, on your drop as well. I think selling out and pushing things as hard as we can here in this space right now during this time in the market is just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Quick intro on myself, longtime artist, been working with traditional mediums for a very long time. Recently, working with AI as a collaborative artist as well. I've curated shows. I've been in international exhibitions all over the place. In fact, I'm in two exhibitions this week in a gallery outside of the country again this week. So like this week, I'm actually, I think like 3 or 4 different places. It's just, this whole space is crazy. And I think that, one of the biggest highlights for me recently has been the Zeitgeist group drop here on Joyn, utilizing all the amazing new features within the Composer side of the platform, which I know we're going to jump into a lot of that stuff today and just show how like incredible this stuff is. So super stoked to be here. Let's go.
If you're watching us on YouTube or X, make sure you leave your comments underneath the live stream. We're here checking you guys out. And again, I know today is Labor Day in the States and all of North America. So if you're watching us, appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch us. But in general, I think the last time we were together, we launched Composer. This time we're together, and the momentum is just snowballing. At this point, it's an avalanche of just how much stuff is being created. Again, and then the two of you kind of mentioning sellouts and overdrive and the work that Blac is doing all over. I think it's a fantastic kind of way to come back. But really quickly, I think I also wanted to note that if you're watching us in the future, make sure you leave a comment. Make sure that you're also kind of giving feedback to kind of what you want to see as we kind of move along in future live streams. We are back. Like, this is our second one, and I'm sure we're going to keep coming together to make more. So make sure you're showing love to us. And also, if you're not already, follow us on X and Instagram. We're always pushing updates on available open calls, on the showcases just dropped, all the stories that you could read, all the content is being created with Composer. You can find it on our socials, and we push a lot of content on our social channels. But yeah, I think you two will kind of really be able to give a great perspective on kind of what it would take to kind of elevate kind of things that we're seeing right now in the space. I think there's a lot of opportunity to kind of bring more than just the traditional, I've created something, here it is, and indulge, or I've created something, now collected, and we're all done. So I think now with Composer and its past this kind of infancy stage of people just creating stuff, I think we'll kind of see today's examples as the next level. Like, what else can you kind of do to really kind of elevate the work you're creating? What stories can you tell? How can you create a flow within a showcase? And we might have a live stream exclusive that we'll get into in a second, but I kind of want to hear initial thoughts from Andrea and Blac.
Yeah, I mean, just watching how these last few weeks unfolded and just seeing how everyone is using Composer with the various stories and various showcases. And there's so many different use cases. And it's even surprised me a few times of how people are using it. And it prompted me to be like, wow, that's actually a really great idea. I should I feel inspired to kind of take what I'm seeing here and kind of create my own rendition of this for my next one, my next showcase, or my next story. We're going to get into more visual examples very soon, and I will kind of pick out a couple small things as to what I'm kind of referring to. But just seeing, after my solo with Overdrive, like I saw, so many other more solo showcases and some group showcases, and it's sparked even more creativity and inspiration for me for my next one. So I don't know about you, Blac, but I've been feeling extra creatively inspired after seeing, so much more coming out of Composer.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things to me when we look through the space and all the different, I know there's just so many different platforms and different opportunities to do different things. And to me, I want to experience more. I think that is one of the biggest factors for me. And so when I look at what we're doing with the Composer and showcases and the stories and all these amazing things, I tend to look at it as like, how can I put more of the meaning into the work and share more of the process and talk about the piece more? Because I think that a lot of times we kind of get wrapped up in this, like, oh, it's this post and we'll go here and here's the link and go buy now. And art is much more about experience. And I think I look at it as like 50% of the art is the expression and the creating of it. And then the other 50% is the experience of it from the viewer. And so I feel like we have a huge lack of that in this space in general. And a lot of these features are coming to the aid of that, I think. And so for me, I look at it as like, I have some huge projects that I'm working on. One particular that may take me like maybe a year to make. And it's like, why do that in the shadows? Why not put something together where maybe it's almost like a live journaling type of experience where people can follow along for the next 12 months, and I'm just updating it and putting things up there. And then all that's on chain. It's all having provenance with it. Anyone looking back on it in retrospect will have the perspective of what's been done and how it's created. And all of that is a part of the experience, And so I think, and that's just one way I'm looking at it. And there's like 20 other ways to look at it. So I think these types of environments, especially sort of like the sandbox type of effect where you can kind of go in and kind of build something yourself that matches the work and matches the brand of things that you're putting out there and then what you want to express to the world. I just think it's a huge opportunity for anyone to check out for sure.
I couldn't agree more. And I found that, as I created my first showcase, my first story, I had a flooding of ideas after that. I'm like, wow, I can use this and this and this for things I've used Twitter for in the past, for example. But you'd hit the nail on that, is the experience. When I created my solo showcase, I wanted people to actually feel like they're actually experiencing how I feel. And I think that I accomplished that. And that was a lot of work to put into that. But this would not have been possible without Composer, without having the showcase to really allow my audience to dive into my world. It would have not executed the same way. So props, definitely. The experience is the biggest thing about this.
Yeah, I think from past experiences working with other artists, think about Sandsprat and the game just wrapped up not too long ago, an experience. Murat Pack and Cubes, that was an experience. Beeple, all the stuff that people did in the past, just like showcasing. He showcases work every day. So I think that in itself is an experience. So those are upper echelon, and it's not too far thinking outside of the box, where you could kind of just share your experiences, share what kind of your thought process is behind what you're sharing with everyone. And I think this is a kind of a great segue to this live stream exclusive that we're going to show in a second. And really quickly want to thank all of you who are watching us right now live on YouTube and X. And we see your comments. We'll highlight them as you kind of get through the stream. But let's get into this live stream exclusive. So what you're seeing right now is a brand new template for Composer, the Sinwell artwork drop template. It's going to be a template that is open to the public, so early access will not be required for this. Artists are going to be able to create a dedicated landing page, kind of similar to what you're seeing on screen right now. You're really beautiful. You're a lot of context. You see the piece itself and other kind of descriptors added to the page itself, and you're you're gonna be able to really add context behind the art that you're creating. So, we touched on it a little bit just a while back. A narrative, a story. Tell me more about yourself. Tell me what went behind the piece, and it's coming soon. So if you're liking what you're seeing, you're already getting inspired by this kind of like mini preview of a single artwork drop template that's going to be added into the already big repository of things that you could do with Composer. I think it's going to be really interesting to see where kind of people take this template and iterate and create what they're kind of imagining. At least for me, I know as I'm in a very, very fledgling journey of creating artwork myself. And sometimes there are pieces that don't match the aesthetic that I'm really 100% working on. But I still think it looks really cool. I still think there's a lot of value in kind of sharing my experience creating it, or I feel like it could hold on its own merit. So you'll be able to make one-on-ones, additions, anything that you could do before with minting on Joyn, and of course you're able to list other from other external contracts and create a similar landing page for those as well. So possibilities are endless. I'll kind of hand it off to Andrea and Blac here because I know they have already ideas from the before in the green room we were talking before. So I kind of let them explore a bit more on kind of what we were talking about earlier. I think this is a fantastic way of, again, taking advantage of the free minting and listing on Joyn. Create something. There's no repercussions. You don't have to put any kind of monetary value behind it. You just create, and you let the rest of it take care of itself. Push it on your socials, share it around, get feedback, and iterate on kind of what you're creating here.
I got a flood of ideas, y'all. Like it's a flood. As a creator myself, one of the things, like often that big question I ask myself is, I have this amazing piece. There's such a story to this, but I don't know where to list it. I'm sure that y'all have this question you ask yourself on a daily basis. Do I put it here? Do I put it here? Do I put it here? Now that this is going to become available to all y'all, this is a perfect solution, in my opinion, because I always want to share more about one-on-ones. I'm more of a one-on-one artist myself. Typically, I don't always drop collections. It's usually not the case. So this is a better solution for me when I drop one-on-one. So there's always so much. I have so much. Y'all know me. I always have so much to say on so many things. So this gives me that flexibility. The other thing is, instead of creating a thread on Twitter, as we all know, it could be very tedious and time consuming to share the narrative or story that you're trying to convey with your piece as a thread on Twitter. But having it here, to me, from an experience, like the experience of creating this on Joyn would be more seamless. And I think it'll be a much more of an enjoyable experience. At least that's how it was for me as well when I created my showcase. If the experience was much more profound. I've seen so many examples of artists in the space who create such amazing threads to describe their work. I think this is a perfect solution to that.
Also, I think one thing to note here is that I'll only bring this up because you mentioned putting together threads on Twitter. I think that one of the challenges with putting threads out is that they go away. It's something that in 24 hours, they're gone. People have seen it and it's over, and you have 5 more posts since then, and then it's just gone. And so I think one of the things that is a challenge in this space, I think, is that everyone, we're kind of fighting this sort of churning game of everything kind of turning over within 12 hours. You don't see it anymore. And to me, I look at this as like a huge opportunity to have a, almost like, as I said a while ago, almost like a living document, like something that is there all the time. If someone wants to go check in on a project or whatever, they can go there, and it's like a live, living page. Like for me, what I was talking about earlier, like a process type of project or something. But then if you're going through and actually putting something together with a story and a narrative and all the things that are being displayed right here, it's so much more immersive, and it's in a single location, and it's always there. And so I think that, as a lot of the other features that we've, some of us are, privy to these things behind the curtain, a lot of the other features that are coming out at some point, Joyn's going to be, the link in my bio, because everything is going to be in that one singular location. All my minted work, all my showcases, every event I've been in, the open calls I've been selected for, unminted work that's there for offers. I mean, it seems like it can become the hub for serious Web3 artists who want to allow people to have an experience with what they're doing, and actually sit through and engage with the work and kind of understand where it's coming from and how it's built out. And so for me, when I look through this, it's like, yeah, a flood of ideas, so many different thoughts about how to put things together. I used to do web development years ago. So to me, I look at this as like, man, like this is actually a really simple way to kind of put a site together, and have everything in one place. I think that's one of the biggest challenges too, where like people have websites and everything's sort of decentralized, and you're linking out to 20 different places and that sort of thing. And here you can do all this in one place. And that to me is a huge win. And it's also a massive opportunity for people to take advantage of, for sure.
Again, live stream exclusive. You're only seeing this because you're watching the live stream right now. So again, make sure you tune in. If you're following us live, again, shout out to Rohan, and shout out to Nuan. I saw your messages on YouTube. Appreciate it for tuning in. And again, yeah, I think it's really tough, no? Because your hope is that someone will click on your profile on X, scroll through a couple of your posts, and hopefully they kind of see your original message that you posted about a piece of content that you created 3 days ago. And then there's some kind of like assumption that someone will kind of study you, because that's almost like, to me, that feels like I'm studying you. I'm going through your profile. I'm going through so many messages that you posted. I'm pretty much studying what you're doing. I don't think anybody would study me. I think they would just kind of see and interact with the content that I push out the time that they see it. So again, this is kind of almost evergreen, where you'll be able to continue to share it. You'll be able to direct people towards a Joyn page. You'll be able to direct people to this specific time where you created a full descriptor. And I'm comparing this to other kind of places where you mint or you list your piece, and then the only descriptor you have is the descriptor you put for the metadata, and that's it. And what is that like? For optimizing smart contract, optimizing gas reasons, not too much text are allowed to be in that metadata. So this just gives you an opportunity to describe what you're creating, gives you an opportunity to kind of bring that narrative, bring in that interaction, and get people kind of involved in what you're trying to kind of create. Because sometimes I see works out in the wild, and I just want to know more. How did you make this? What's the story behind it? What other details can you kind of give me so that I can, help become a collector? That's essentially what it comes down to. Like collect on Joyn, collect anywhere else, but with this kind of single artwork piece template that's going to be added to Composer, now there's opportunity. Now imagine, we're giving free ideas out here. so thanks for that, Miguel, for giving me free ideas here. But imagine creating a piece that has utility. Now you don't have to make a thread on X or a post on IG or make this whole thing where you gotta like explain everything. You got a single place where people are gonna learn about the utility behind your piece that you created. Maybe the artwork you created gets you get a mailed copy of a print, and now it's like a really easy way to like get the full details on what I need to do next to get my print. And there's just a lot of like micro examples like that will kind of single a page like this will really kind of help keep you organized, will help you just like be able to get more details on kind of what you want to accomplish with what you're sharing. So I think that is single artwork piece template on Joyn.
I would
Let's
also,
freaking go.
I was also going to throw in like, it'd be really interesting to create a page that is as I said before, almost like a living document where you're able to even just have like available work. Like it could just be like an available work page. And you can go on, you can link things that are even in different marketplaces, or even list them on Joyn, have them all in one place, and just have like a rolling, like living document of just available work, or things that are up for offer. Like there's plenty of things that I put out that I'm not minting. I'll get DM'd every now and then asking like, hey, are you going to mint this? Like, is this something you want to do? Like, whatever. And I even had like a private sale last week because of a GM post from months ago. And so I think like having these things in one location allows people to actually go in and check it out. And it's something you could update. Like, I think that's one of the biggest problems. Like, it's hard to update stuff in different locations. You have it all in one place, easy to do. The back end of this stuff, you guys, is super simple. It's so easy to do. You can set up one of these pages really quickly. A lot of it's like drag and drop, move things around, pop in an image, write some text, done. There's nothing else really involved as far as like programming or coding or anything like that. It's super easy to set up and to update over time. And so that's how I look at it, is like, if I have one single location for things, that's just what I need. I need one thing that's there all the time. I can update. It's easy. I was even thinking over the weekend about getting rid of my website or using it for a different purpose and just having this set up, because that way it's all in one spot. Legitimately, that's what I was thinking over the weekend, how much easier it would be to do it this way rather than having to do all this other stuff. So I think there's just so much opportunity here. One of the best parts about this to me is seeing how other people are going to use it.
Absolutely. And even I thought about the other day, I'm like, what about if I were to dedicate a page just for thanking my collectors, right? Like there are so
that's
many
a great
different,
idea.
It is. Like I was thinking that the other day, right? Because like what Miguel was mentioning about utility, I actually added the utility portion in my showcase. I explained the utility of what happens when collectors collect one of my pieces. I don't necessarily give a timeline, but at least I'm very transparent about that. So there are many different things we're not even thinking about right now that y'all probably have in your head right now and be like, I'm going to follow through on the first person that has come up with this, So many use case examples.
That's an interesting idea, because you could have a page that's everything you've collected and how you feel about it and what it does for you and how it speaks to you. Because when I collect a piece, most of the time I end up writing like a long post about it, like, hey, this is what this means to me. This is why I did this, or this is why I think it's valuable, or what I love about it, or whatever. And then again, that goes away, right? Like on Twitter or whatever, it just goes away. So it's like you could have these things as like a living page, and then having like a dedicated page just to collectors, and then things that are up for offer. Like those are three pieces of the puzzle: what you collect, who's collecting from you, and what you have to collect. So those three things in my mind are like three amazing use cases to put up different pages for this. And everything's in one place. So I don't know. Seems like a huge win to me.
$1 million ideas, live stream exclusives.
Let's go.
The beautiful people on YouTube and X watching us right now. Wandering Hooligan, thank you for sharing. Yes, of course, like always. Celine on YouTube. So much freedom and flexibility. Of course, I think that's kind of the name of the game with Composer. Anything you kind of envision or want to create with Composer now, even more with this single artwork drop. It's gonna be fantastic to see what's gonna be created in the future with Harry again. Here, some emoji showing love on YouTube again. I was gonna give one more idea, but I don't know. Might as well just like give the whole caboose, give the whole train, give it all the noodles, like whatever we're kind of thinking here for creating with single artwork drop template. Pops. You got a pop landing page. Maybe a little token gating in the future, but that's too much. I'm giving too much away. That becomes even more than a live stream exclusive. That kind of becomes you're sitting in on one of our dev calls. But I think it's fantastic. Great points again by Andrea and Blac. Fantastic stuff that I think is going to be created with Composer. And what better way than to learn by example? And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to really showcase some of the things that have been created over the past 2 weeks since our last live stream with Composer. I think it's some fantastic stuff that we talked about. We gave some ideas, but now there are already some that come to full fruition, given what they created with Composer. So we'll see you in a second. First impressions. First impressions by Nevin Johnson. And Nevin is known for creating some fantastic stuff from photography and just a couple other things. Really, really good following. And First Impressions is his first attempt at using AI, like deviating from like his original kind of typical way of creating art. Used AI, which of course we all know is super, super hot. But First Impressions is a fantastic example of the potential of adding so much narrative, so much story behind, again, the flow of a showcase. And we kind of see here as he shows off the artwork, gives more story behind it, gives it's an homage to kind of how he would learn from his mother's own paintings and create stuff with kind of photography, but now with the added layer of AI, taking it to the next level and creating some new kind of remix of the two into one. So I think it's again another fantastic example of creating this story and flow within a showcase. And again, already has some collectors, 0.3 ETH collectors so far. I think that's 3 out of the 5 that he has in this showcase. So we'll drop the link here in a second so people can view it who are watching us live. But again, it's a great example of using a showcase to kind of build on that story. Like why I think one of the biggest questions that people are trying to answer for potential collectors or people who are just like indulging in the work is give me a reason to care about why I'm kind of looking, watching, absorbing what you're kind of showing to me. And a great story, a great narrative behind these like fantastic pieces that were created just adds extreme value to a showcase like this.
I think one of the biggest things about this one that really struck me was one of the statements he made. It says, I believe my early exposure to this movement for Impressionism influenced me in the way I see and photograph the world. So that to me, when as a collector myself, I personally like knowing where does the inspiration come from in terms of, what you're creating, right? Where are the origins coming from? And this tells me right away with even in the first paragraph that this influenced his next set of works with using AI, with Impressionism in general. So I got to know more about his background with not too many words in general. He went pretty detailed in the script here, but I think it was just enough, in my opinion. I think he did a really good job conveying that information without too much information at the same time. Like I also love the white background. For those who don't know, for a showcase, we can have a dark or light background, given the type of work, the medium. I think that's really important because sometimes light or dark mode could be different based on the art you're putting out there. And I think the white background here, I think really pops out the color in each of these pieces. And they're just exquisite. I mean, I was scrolling through it quite a bit before our live stream, and I'm just diving into this world of color. So that was, to me, what really struck out for me when I first looked at this showcase. I don't know about you, Blac, what really stood out for you, but that's personally what I felt when I looked at it.
One of the things that I love is the versatility of having different types of displays. Being able to have like the actual piece here that's linked in, and then also like obviously they put together like some mock-ups and stuff of the work, but obviously that's sort of done off-site, but they're putting that in a way that's like centered. And in other places it's more like a gallery, but you're able to have the text kind of just play inside of that environment the whole time, and everything is integrated. I guess, excuse me, coming from a web design perspective, I look at it as being able to have a simple process to display beautiful things. And so that to me is great. And I also believe that when you start to go through it from the viewpoint of experiencing the work, you're actually able to do that. And one of the things that I find to be a challenge in other types of marketplaces and galleries and stuff that we have access to in this ecosystem is that it's all very much focused on buying something, and I don't necessarily think that's the end result of an experience. That is not the experience, and so I think having a marketplace where things are just sitting on a shelf is a different situation when you step in and actually want to sit down, drink a little bit of espresso and go through and read what people have to say about their work and actually absorb it. Like that to me is what this is. Oh, and if you like it, you can collect it. Like that to me is how the perspective is as you go through this. I love that. That's something I've been looking for this entire time that I've been here. And I think being able to work together on this stuff and see this come to fruition is just something that's like, wow, it's kind of mind blowing, and it really puts things into perspective of how things could be. And also, I just want to throw in, one of the things about this that I think really stands out is that it's somewhat agnostic away from, everything doesn't have to be in one place. You can bring things in from other places. You can have your works like minted on Manifold and have everything put into this environment. You can also list it here obviously too, but it's much more about the experience of someone being able to come through and absorb the work than it is necessarily about what I believe, as I said, to be like the byproduct of that experience, which is the sale. And so that to me is where there's a huge opportunity for people to be empowered, to share their thoughts and their process and their inspirations and where it comes from, and all of those things in a single place that's easy to build.
If he had not written that this was AI, I would have believed that he did it on the canvas. That's the kind of thing where and the great insights from the both of you from the execution standpoint, but just like as a observer, as someone who just wants to kind of like look at it in general, just like fantastic work. These are the kind of things that you kind of see it mocked up on like another website where you go and you're like, oh, you want to collect this like physical artwork, like a Sotheby's or Christie's, like that. This is kind of what it kind of reminds me of, like those like the not the Web3 version of them, but like their traditional stuff where they do like paintings like this. Kind of gives me that vibe. And again, the off chain, on chain content, like you mentioned, Blac, interweave throughout the showcase, I think really kind of adds that feeling to it. Because even if I don't scroll down enough and I just focus on the top part of the showcase, it is really really cool stuff, I think. And if you appreciate it, it gives like that museum vibe. Go into MoMA. I mean, I'm in New York City, so I'm spoiled with these museums. But you go into MoMA, you go into the other museums in the city, like very similar feeling. Yeah, beautiful artwork hanging on the walls. Get a really close and intricate feeling to it. And yeah, it is the end result. I like this so much that I could collect it on Joyn. I could buy it. I could add it to my collection. And I think Nevin has done a fantastic job here with the artworks. The only ones left are Garden here at the bottom. Beautiful flower oil painting canvas style, and then on the top here was Beacon, Maine. I've been to Maine, so I like the lighthouses. Up north in the U.S. Really beautiful, kind of very scenic places to go to. So fantastic. It kind of reminds me of that. So again, a lot of cool stuff kind of interweaved into the showcase. First impressions, 2 pieces left to collect, point 0.3 ETH total sales for an event. So really cool. Again, really cool stuff here in this particular showcase.
Definitely a great first impression. That's all I got to say.
Great impression for kind of the flow of kind of what else we're going to be showcasing here, and we'll kind of move on to the next one in an open call from live art. Yeah, so live art and our open calls, I think I say this for everyone whenever I get a chance to talk about an open calls just are a way for people to source artists from anywhere. And a lot of times open calls don't require for your work to be minted. It could be unminted work, and I think that this is again another example of one of those where that is not a kind of a requirement. I just want to make sure. Again, we'll drop the link to everything we're showing after the show, so that you all who are watching us can experience it, or have the opportunity to submit your own artwork. But for the live art open call, it's the card design. So they're asking for people to create card designs that will kind of be showcased on their passes that they have on the live art platform. So again, there's a 1 ETH prize pool. The top 3 will get a chunk of that, and another fantastic opportunity of an open call on Joyn. And I'll scroll down and showcase kind of some of the submissions, and it's kind of a place where open calls always are that place where you can kind of get inspired. Sometimes I'll look at an open call and kind of read the details, and I'll be like, okay, kind of not my style. I don't think I'll have like a decent enough kind of chance. But as I scroll down and kind of see the submissions, I'll get inspired and be like, oh, actually, I have an idea now because of all this beautiful work that has been submitted either through the thread on Twitter or submitted directly on Joyn. We have that flexibility when you do an open call on Joyn to kind of gather and source the artwork from either place. So I think as I'm scrolling down, I'm looking all of this fantastic submissions that we're seeing for the live art card. Like I could potentially get inspired. And that happens with a lot of open calls that kind of take place on Joyn. At least for me, I read the open call and then I'm like, maybe I don't have a chance. And then I get inspired. I'm like, wait, actually, I have a really good idea that would kind of work. And that's just from like scrolling and looking at some of the work that others are doing here. So again, fantastic from live art, or some really good submissions. And as always, if you run an open call, expect it to be tough to pick your favorites. That's always the feedback we get from our partners. It's always everything went well, everything went great, but damn, it's really tough to pick my favorites. It's really tough to wind it down to only 3, only 10. And I think Blac, you'll be able to speak from experience. You went from 22 to 33 on Zeitgeist. And then just overall, just like the difficulty of being able to choose some of your favorites in an open call just is testament to how proven a Joyn open call is for our partners.
Yeah, it's always, curating is almost an art in itself at this point. It's something that's like, I don't know, it's a challenge, it's an honor, it's also like humbling. You go through, you see so much work, and I don't know. I'll call out Omli Art. She says something that makes me laugh every time. She always says that, if a piece makes you envious, then it must be really good. I think as an artist, you look at it, you're like, wow, this is so good. This is so much better than what I do. And you kind of feel that way. And a lot of times, going through these open calls, everything's so well laid out, and you're able to kind of click through and experience the art one by one, and you just get immersed in so much of it. And yeah, I think that is like the hardest part about it is choosing something, and everything else is super smooth. So yeah, kudos for making it really easy to make it hard.
I believe there's still lots of time for this open call as well. For those who are seeing this, I believe there's about 9 days left. And I do believe that Live Art will be hosting a space very soon as well, that's directly related to this open call. So if you may have questions about it, you want to learn more about it, that'll be a great time. So definitely stay tuned for those details. But like, I think we already mentioned, like, open calls have this power to really spark some new ways of new avenues of creativity. Like there's so many open calls that I've actually participated in that I never thought I would ever actually participate in the past. But just by seeing just how amazing some of these art pieces are, it's like, okay, maybe I could do something. But here's something that, that's helped me along the way as well, where of course it can be sometimes when you see such a large number of submissions, you're like, there's no chance I'm going to get selected. Be like, you know what? This is an opportunity for your art to be seen. As we all know, that's something as creators, we just want to be seen and to be heard. So if by chance you may not be selected for an open call, here's an idea, because I have done this already. Creating a story about your piece, about what you created for this open call, go into details about it. Another example is Claire Silver. When she had her AI contest, there was quite a process to creating my first AI video ever. And I just want to talk more about it. Even though I didn't win, I still have the opportunity to use a story feature, for example, to share more about that, share more about my submission. So there are other benefits, regardless if you get chosen for an open call or not, to kind of consider.
Yeah, 9 days left on the open call for the live art card design. Again, make sure you read the requirements. There are requirements for the open call sometimes, so make sure you're reading all the details on the Joyn page and also the details on threads if they post an announcement on Twitter. So make sure you're reading the requirements. But again, fantastic artwork that we're seeing here in the live art card design. I actually never thought about it that way. If I submit my art and I see something better, then I kind of get bummed out. But I never thought about that, and now it's good. That's good, a good detail to avoid looking once I submit, because submit it and forget it. YOLO, you only live once. Do it. Go push for it. Again, perfection is the enemy of good. So don't let yourself be a blocker. Submit your work.
The
Do
prize pool
better.
is insane
And edit it.
too. Like, it's
Yeah.
a 1/8 prize pool. Like, what do you have to lose, y'all? Give it a chance, right?
Just give it a shot. You never know. But fantastic stuff. Again, once again, from the live art team. Always a pleasure working with the live art team and their open calls and stuff that they do on platform with us. So I think that's fantastic, and that kind of segues to our kind of our next showcase. Take a round of applause here for 787. Where we talk about sellouts here with my co-hosts Andrea and Blac, and we have here another sellout on Joyn, American Abstract, a collection of one-on-one collages that he created. From the collages were based from northern Michigan. Really, really, really scenic part of the U.S. Again, if you're ever close to any kind of body of water in the U.S., guaranteed to have like a really nice view of just a lot of things that happen up there in northern Michigan. A sellout, so collectors flooded to Joyn to collect all the beautiful stuff that he created for his showcase, American Abstract. For example, here going down really quickly, Wesco Dawn, and again, we're going through a showcase, again, story, adding more content to just not just like a gallery of pieces for sale. It's just him explaining and showcasing and telling us why, like what is the story behind the content that you're creating. And a showcase is a fantastic way of grouping similar pieces to create something that people can indulge in. I remember when I first saw the showcase, and I didn't know. Like, I knew that the Great Lakes of Michigan up there, and you're close to your bordering Canada, is like really big bodies of water. But I was like, this scenic. I was like, holy moly! I didn't. I'm from here. I'm from the States, and knowing that Michigan has even more scenic than what I probably could have imagined. Fantastic stuff, like beautiful pictures of the forest, of the water, and all the stuff here up in northern Michigan. And again, a fantastic showcase, sold out. Unfortunately, can't collect it anymore. Maybe reach out to the current owners and get a secondhand, or throw some offers out there on Joyn and try to capture that piece from someone else. But again, fantastic stuff here from 787.
I couldn't agree more. I'm a collage enthusiast. That's what I started when I started my digital art era, is starting with collage. I still love collage to this day, so I was super excited to see this showcase because I'm a huge fan of collage. But one of the things, I read everything, y'all. When I go through a showcase, I actually read every word. And one of the things that was mentioned is that he said creating this series was very rewarding for him, because knowing that his hands and eyes were involved at every stage of the creative process, having used previously AI generated images and stock photography. So I can relate to this because it was very similar for me with my Overdrive showcase. He mentioned as well here that this series contains his first on-chain photographic work. So you can already, from that line alone, is very personal. So it was a very similar experience for me as well. And I just love how he kind of shares more about it's the travels of where he's been and sharing that kind of experience. I'm a travel enthusiast myself as well. So this kind of sparks some creativity and ideas as well of, doing another photography collection in the future of sharing travel. So I'm very, I loved this showcase so much. I also love the use of minimalism, the negative space. It's so creative. I've never seen collages like this before, and I've been in the collage game for a long time, and I've just personally have never seen this before. It's very unique and very different. I think it's awesome that his first on-chain photographic works are on Joyn. Like, that's awesome. It's huge.
I love how you're able to actually see what went into the collages. Like, that is such a huge thing. Like, you could do that on Twitter, but I think it's like lost in the mix, and someone would have to like really sit down and like read everything to really understand what's going on. But I don't even have to read anything to understand what's happening here and how this is put together. And I just love that. I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I used to do a lot of collage work. Maybe around like 10 years ago or so. Like, most of the digital art that I did around that time was all collage based off of my own photography as well. So like, I super vibe with this, and I love it. It's just awesome. And being able to see the process behind what's created, again, like, I go back to process. I think it's just, my heavy artist side of me coming out, where it's just like, man, like, I love seeing how people construct things. I love being in a creative environment where you're actually able to absorb that. And this just makes it super easy to do that, and easy to understand too as you go through it.
I think it's one of those things where the more you see similar stuff, the more you'll get inspired to do it on your own. So I know for me, speaking from experience, I started heavy on AI. Like, let me make AI stuff. Let me find kind of like my flow, similar to how Blac has kind of his singular way of like his presentation. So I was trying to find that. Delved a little bit, didn't like what I was seeing, and then I saw Overdrive and Andrea, and kind of like her put her own personality into it, like it's her own flavor. And like, how can I add similar to what Blac and Andrea are doing in terms of what they're creating? Like, add their own flavor. Like, yes, you'll find kind of your style, add your personality, and then add kind of like your experience into it. And I'm like fully kind of understanding like how to create something that aren't glorified desktop wallpapers. And that's like our own personal critique to some of the things that I was doing at the beginning with AI. And then for someone like 787 who did similar, he went started AI, and then took it onto his own camera, his own perspective, and created all of this fantastic stuff here again. And the reason why it's sold out, fantastic stuff here. And I can't wait to kind of see what comes next after American Abstract. I agree. Being able to kind of absorb the content that he created without sometimes not even having to read. It's just indulging in the pictures that he included, the off-chain content that he included in his showcase. Some really cool stuff. So fantastic. Again, congratulations to 787 for the sellout on Joyn. And for the people who got a chance to collect this work, collectors must be very, very happy. We had a list of launch partners for Composer. If you want to say we saved the best for last, I agree. I think we started off strong and we end off strong of our like initial launch partners with Composer, who took the time to really just indulge in all the offerings that Composer had to offer, from showcases to open calls to stories. And I think stories has a lot of potential to either be, it's the flexibility of a story is fantastic. It could be the feature that you kind of use to really kind of elevate everything that you're trying to accomplish, and take certain pieces that you have and add that story into it. Or it could be a supplement to all the other kind of stuff that you're doing. So what the Museum of Contemporary Digital Art accomplished here is a series that they're calling 3-on-3, where it's a spin on the artist spotlight, where Magda, and in this case Tom from Magda, curator from Magda, picks 3 pieces of the artist that he's spotlighting, and then the artists themselves pick 3 of their pieces out of their catalog of work that they've created, and they go back and forth with each other, kind of interviewing. Tom interviews Clara, which is Render Fruit. Clara, we've worked together in the past. She's done some fantastic work, some NFT drops, really, really dope stuff. And they take 3 pieces each, and they talk about kind of the work, and it's like an interview style, using these pieces as kind of like the anchor. And you'll see that Tom has integrated these pieces into the story itself, into the interview, just adding just like a next level of people getting to kind of deep dive into who Clara is, Render Fruit, and an opportunity to kind of showcase pieces that you've either created in the past or you just recently minted. And it's just a really, really, really dope way of doing artist spotlights. And I think we've done artist spotlights ourselves. Shout out to the Joyn community team who have done artist spotlights in the past. With Composer, we take those kind of initiatives, and Magda just took it and ran with it. Like a fantastic way of creating a new spin on artist spotlights. And the 3-on-3 series, I'm really looking forward to reading the next ones in the series.
This is such a huge innovation and an idea for deep diving. And I personally have never seen it done this way before. So it's very innovative. I loved the experience when I read through it. And I also love that they gave the opportunity for Claire as well to choose 3 of her own. I love doing interviews, and I also love providing interview answers. And sometimes I think to myself, it'd be nice if I actually got to choose and have the flexibility to share which 3 pieces I want to talk about, right? So I love that there's so much flexibility there from both ends. I think it's an incredible concept, the 3-on-3. Big kudos to Magda for this. I look forward to reading more as well, because it was a lovely experience for me.
Again, it goes back to experience, right? Like you're able to actually sit through and just absorb this stuff. And I think sometimes like we need to just like tap the brakes and absorb something and not just scroll all day long and and lose sight of what's important. And this stuff, I think, in this environment, it's really easy to do that. But as you go through showcases like this and you're able to actually sit down and read through what's going on, like, it kind of gives you that moment of being present and like really absorbing the work. And to me, that's what really matters. Like, that's what we should be focusing more on as a culture, and really start to experience what makes art valuable, and that's the experience itself in a lot of the ways. So this is another like prime example of the thing that I keep kind of harping on. But yeah, it just looks so good. I love it. They did a great job with this.
They say that you could find complexity and simplicity. So I think your typical, this kind of like interview style, very transactional. You go one and you ask a question, get an answer, ask a question, get an answer. But for the 3-on-3, it's more of like, let's talk about the work. Let's really tell you as the curator and interviewee, tell, like, you're interviewing me, tell me why you cared for interviewing me in the first place, and that this is what the 3-on-3 adds, that dimension to it. It's not just like, tell me everything about you and we're done with the conversation. It's more of like, here are works that resonated with me, and here's the reason why I want to have this conversation with you. And now you share some of the works that you feel like really express what you're trying to convey, as a, like, just like as general creator of things. And this 3-on-3 series really takes that and runs with it. So I love that it's like a non-transactional interview. It's more of like a really just feels like a conversation. I'm reading a conversation, just like the three of us are having right now with each other about artwork, and Clara Renderfruit and the work that she's done in the past. Some really dope stuff, 3D animation, all minted, of course. And you can learn more on the 3-on-3. We'll share the link in the comments. And fantastic stuff again. A prime example of a story with the on and off chain content, and really, really dope stuff from Magda. Really looking forward to the rest of the 3-on-3 series as they kind of launch them on Joyn. I mean, what could we talk about anything else that's super, super huge that happens on Joyn? I think that Patrick kind of ticks the boxes off as he once again uh, drops the 4-on-4 on Joyn. This is the September art catalog that's labeled artist by artists for artists. Artists are collecting artists. And I think the September issue, uh, what a fantastic roster of artists that he kind of brought together for this 404 to kind of collect from folks. And I get 1.5k submissions ended yesterday, unfortunately. If you're not on our email list, you should be on our email list. Make sure you sign up for our email list on joyn.xyz. We send all the alpha first to the email list to make sure you don't miss out on all the open calls, showcases, stories that happen on Joyn. End of plug. Back to here. I want to shout out a couple of my friends here on this list. Thank you, X, Brian Brickman, and Dave Krugman. We've done a lot of work in the past, so shout out to those guys. But I'm seeing a lot of really, really big names on this list to kind of complement all each other as a whole. I see Jake, I see C4, I see Life of OC, I see Tijo, I see Ruben Wu. Shout out to Gabe Weiss. A lot of fantastic artists in collecting this month, the September 404 art catalog by Patrick.
And I mean, he did it also for August and July, and the number of submissions was pretty well just as high. And I do recall for the previous one as well that there was a list of collectors up to $3,500, I believe. So I mean, Patrick just keeps bringing it up a notch, and So, and the amount of art that's in here, like I was scrolling through it a couple of times throughout the open call, because if we all know when it gets to a certain number, it starts to be, it's a lot of art, right? So for me personally, and even from a curation standpoint, I go every couple of days to absorb what has been submitted in those last few days. I know you do the same, Blac. I think we talked about this before, that to not leave it to the very, very end. At least that's just what I do, because there's just so much amazing art in this. And Patrick has done such an amazing job with tweeting out, you know, how many submissions are rolling in, almost maybe once or twice a day. You can tell he's very, very passionate about this initiative. I was actually on a space with him not long ago, and he also meant he dropped some alpha of what is coming for the future. I'm not going to say it for him, but he has a lot of plans for 404. So I look forward to seeing how this kind of really grows and develops over time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how, as this landscape evolves that we're all in, this is something that kind of spawns out of it. And you see other things like this kind of popping up, but this was definitely one of the biggest things to kind of come across, especially working with Joyn and getting everybody out in front of it, and go through it. It really is like a catalog. Like I love how it's sort of put into that framework, and being shown as that, and it's different. It highlights work very well. And Patrick definitely, you know, I knew of Patrick, but I didn't really feel like I was like super close to him, or had kind of absorbed a lot of what he had to offer up until very recently. And in the last few weeks, in the last month or so, especially since he started doing this with Joyn, I've listened to a lot of his spaces and the ones he's sort of been interviewed on. And I think he's just coming from such a pure art perspective that I like super resonate with. I'm so aligned with that. And I love that feeling. And I think that this 404 catalog definitely represents that feeling. And I think the way that it's being done with Joyn is obviously like a huge factor in putting it out there, getting people exposure, and kind of empowering art for art's sake, which there's nothing else I could agree with more than that. So yeah, I'm all about it. I love it. And I'm also really interested to see how this kind of evolves in the future. I think this is almost like the MVP of this idea. I can see this as being like a much larger type of thing as it rolls out. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but I can definitely see it branching off and having other things, as well as other people doing a very similar type of thing. I think this is a good thing to do, and putting work together like this is something that only helps people out. So I love it. I think it's great.
Often imitated, never duplicated kind of situation. Maybe we'll see with Patrick and the 404. But I think, you know, once it opens, make sure you submit your artwork, again, monthly, kind of reoccurring, that Patrick does. So if you kind of want to be a part of just, again, this really fantastic catalog of just like work, and I've been scrolling since we started our conversation, there's so much to kind of indulge in. And again, the people who are collecting, like, the list of artists are not the only people who are collecting out of this catalog. You come on, hop on Joyn, collect pieces that are available as well. And then in general, you know, the master thread where Patrick kind of makes the announcement and people submit their work. I know I've submitted. I know my co-hosts here have submitted as well. And again, shout out to Patrick. Always open to giving advice to whoever asks for it. Always giving feedback to the artists who kind of submit to the 4-on-4. A great guy. He's giving me advice about what I should kind of be looking for when I'm creating some of my stuff too. So big shout out to Patrick. A really, really big. It's a big deal. Getting this amount of people consistently on a month-for-month basis of just submitting your artwork to something like an initiative like this, like Blac and Andrea have mentioning, it's not done often. So once it closes, it closes. You are a part of it or you're not a part of it. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the Joyn social handles. Again, follow us on X and Instagram at joyn.xyz. And I'm gonna say live stream exclusive too, because you're getting alpha on what you should and should be doing on Joyn. But again, fantastic stuff from the 404. Always fantastic having Patrick bring in all of the artists, and again, a fantastic list of people collecting for this month. By artists for artists. Our friends are on this list. A lot of people who we're looking also forward to working with on Joyn, as well as Patrick continues to do the 4-on-4. So all of this within a time span of 2 weeks. Sellouts, Patrick Amadon in the 4-on-4, the consistent open calls on Joyn, a fresh new template, just a week, not too long from now. So adding to Composer and what the capabilities of being able to create stuff on Joyn, continue to add to that. Showcases that are being created, Sellout, American Abstract, First Impressions, the 3x3 of Magda, and creating stories on Joyn and adding to that. And again, the single piece drop artwork template. It's going to be, another tool to add to Composer that will kind of help everyone just continue to create stuff using Composer. So I think that for me, at least, another fantastic live stream of being able to talk again with my co-host Andrea, Crown and Palette on Twitter, Blac AI also on Twitter. I think it's going to be another fantastic 2 weeks coming forward. You're going to be able to indulge in all of this content as we come out of the summer and heading into winter. Things get a little chilly. You're looking for something to do. Submit some artwork to the 404. You got a story that you're thinking in your head, or you got off and on-chain content, or you want to create something that's just like a whole kind of narrative behind it, create a story on Joyn. You want to get a group of your friends, you want to create some dope art, make a showcase. Or got that one-off, the black sheep of the group. Maybe Blac makes a rare Pepe and in his style, he wants to do a single piece drop on Joyn. We got the single piece drop template coming soon.
Win Black Pepe.
So I think a lot of good stuff as we kind of head into Q4 of the year. A lot of fantastic stuff, and a lot more time for people to kind of indulge as we come back out of the summer sun and into the cold winters, and just like hibernate for a bit, but indulge in all the content that's dropping on Joyn.
Yeah, I mean, since it's been a couple weeks since our first one, and I'm still absorbing, how much has happened since then. And, as we talk about Composer, we're showing you so many great examples from our partners and those who are having early access. It's one thing to see it, but it's another to experience doing it yourself. And I can say that firsthand. When I created my showcase, it was a whole other experience on its own that I've never experienced before as a creator. Like, I was so indulged by, it's one thing to talk about my life, but then to also relive that while I was creating the showcase was a beautiful, touching experience that I look forward to doing again with another showcase, because I've never experienced that before. And for those who are interested in early access, but you may not have a concrete idea yet, but you're kind of exploring that, we're more than happy to support you in terms of helping come up with ideas. Always available to answer questions in that regard as well. But like we said, once you start really using it, you're going to be flooded with ideas, and you're just going to go move forward. So I know it's been similar for Blac as well. We talked about this behind the scenes. But it's been such a pleasure to be on this second live stream. I look forward to doing more with our amazing co-hosts, with Miguel and Blac. But Blac, I'll hand over to you to conclude.
Yeah, as we've said here several times now, this is something that I find to be just a huge opportunity, and it's almost like a sandbox. It's like, how are you going to build the thing that's going to help you put your work out there in the best light, as well as provide a great experience. And I just think that this is, as they like to say, we're early. I think this is definitely something that's early. I think that what's going to happen, as you said, maybe often imitated, Miguel, I think that you're going to see other places try to adapt this type of approach at some point in the near future, because at some point it's going to be less about the wag me and win mint, and more about this is incredible art, I want to experience it. And I think that to me is going to be the thing that adds a lot of value to the space. But this is the pioneering move for it, and we're already so connected with people, and the way that the ecosystem operates through Twitter and open calls and everything else, it just makes sense to put it all on one place, and to be able to put things together in a way that allows you to display it and have other people come through and check it out. Again, like, to me, I look at it as an opportunity to project things into the future. You know, like, what is it that I'm building? How can I put things out there that people can follow along, or even, maybe eventually subscribe to, updates for different projects. Like, I see a lot of future updates and features and ways that we can utilize this stuff to garner followers and kind of leave breadcrumbs and allow people to really follow the journey. And everyone here is on one. Everyone's on that journey together, and so that's sort of how I look at it. And I think that others will begin to see it in a very similar light as it progresses. So I'm super stoked for it. I think it's just a huge opportunity for a lot of people, and I just can't wait to see what people use it for, as I said. So yeah, I'm just energized. I'm ready to roll.
Again, I think shout out to the 400 plus who tuned in and watched us today on X, and shout out to all the viewers who watched us on YouTube. I think, again, another fantastic showing from our watchers. Just again, we appreciate it. Keep DMing us. We'll always love the messages I get, at least from viewers, asking us about what they saw, and just in general, when's the next live stream. Again, we promise we'll be back. It's not just we mentioned in the first one that we were going to be back, and we're back. And then on top of that, I think DM us. You want early access to the single artwork drop? Talk to one of the teammates. Talk to any of us here. We're very, very active on Twitter. Our handles here on screen too. And I think I agree again with the sentiment that kind of we're all sharing. I think right now the best way to evolve from just dropping something and hoping for, cross your fingers and hope for a collector, is that create more context, talk to people, write the story. Even it could be as simple as a short paragraph on it. You garner more interest, and kind of the more you share it with people. As ominous as Blac might seem, very, very active on Twitter. He shares a lot of perspectives on what he sees and the work that he creates. Andrea, that's similar, where consistently daily showing up and giving feedback and showing support for people and just being active. I think a lot of this boils down to activity and just being present in general. And with Composer and Joyn, you have an opportunity to create showcases, stories, now single art drop, and then also open calls. There's opportunities for a lot of these things that will kind of help you evolve as an artist. And I know I'm the marketing lead at Joyn, and people are always like, I do it for the art, forget the marketing, we don't need to do it, the art speak for itself. Yes, I completely agree. You don't always need to be in sell mode, but I disagree where you should want to kind of showcase yourself more. You should want to really explain the art. Me personally, I love it when I get a question like, "Hey, how did you do this?" or "Hey, how did you do that?" And it's like, I'll talk to you for half an hour if you lend me your ear. And I'm sure my co-hosts are similar. When someone asks you a question, or someone reads something that you create, or just in general indulge in what you're making, there's no bigger satisfaction before even getting a collector is having people come up to you and be like, "Hey, I saw you did this," or "How did you accomplish that? Help me make this." All good, all solid stuff happening. But I'll leave it at that. I think another fantastic live stream from Joyn, and again appreciate my co-host Andrea Crown and Pilot on Twitter, Blac BL or underscore Art Cult on Twitter as well. We thank you for tuning in. 500 plus, and I'm sure we'll rack up. So if you're watching this in the future, leave a like, leave a comment. We'll be back soon, and hopefully even bigger and better stuff being created on Joyn and Composer.
Let's go.
Let's freaking go. I was just gonna say, who's gonna say it before me? Let's freaking go.
Always Blac saying let's go. So again, appreciate it. Appreciate all of you guys watching. Shout out to the people on YouTube, my ex are watching this live. I got over almost close to 500 plus who watched us throughout the last hour on Labor Day too. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you next one. See you there.
See ya.